God. Ask God.
Hi Scott, my name is Shamil and I'm speaking from London, East London in UK. So a big hi from myself to all your listeners. I would first of all like to big thank you to you for your podcast. It's a fantastic podcast and it's been a real driving force behind me for the last 6 months that I've been listening to you. To sort of take action, and I finally have taken some action. I'm going to start off with some retail ARB products first of all, and I would advise a lot of your listeners to maybe take that step first, because there's a lot of hoops you have to get through to launching your first product. I'm just on the cusp of doing that as we speak. Okay, so my question is, how does the launch phase, first of all, how does a research phase differ between, say, private label products and retail arbitrage products? I've already been through this phase anyway, but I thought it would be quite useful for the rest of the listeners. My second question is, how does the launch phase differ? So I know I've listened to a lot of your podcasts about launching private label products, but how does the launch phase differ in retail ARB? And also, how do you have any interesting tips on how to become the top seller where you've got a product where you've got multiple sellers, obviously, which you would have in retail ARB? So they're my two questions. If you can answer them, that'd be fantastic. Thank you so much for everything that you've done so far. Keep the good work going, and I'll ask you some more interesting questions to help fellow listeners out in the future. Thank you so much. Bye.
Hey, Shamil, thank you so much for the question. Again, I got to say it. Love the accent. You sound smart. I don't know. Just do. All right. Okay. This is actually really, really good. I like this question, and I like the little bit of advice that you're giving. For anyone else that's starting right now, like from scratch, and you're thinking to yourself, this private label thing just seems like a beast right now, and I just want to get started, you're 100% right. Retail ARB is a great way to get started. The only reason why I didn't do retail ARB in the beginning is, number one, I didn't have to in order to get started, because I had a little bit of capital to invest. And I wanted to go down that road. It didn't mean it was right. It didn't mean that it was wrong. I just wanted to go down that road versus going out and scanning items in the store and kind of going through that whole thing, or even doing online ARB. I just didn't have the bandwidth at the time either. I had other businesses I was running, and I just wanted to kind of go down the private labeling route. So you're 100% right. If anyone is just starting and you're listening right now, retail ARB is a great way to start. And it's funny that you bring this up, because my good friend Dom Sugar, who is a retail ARB guy that's been doing it for a very long time, over 15, 16 years, I believe, maybe even more. But we're talking about possibly putting something together, do a little bit of training on that, because it is a great way for people to start. And I've asked him privately, I'm like, is it a way for people that can actually get started and make $1,000 like relatively quickly? And he's like, absolutely. Like, I could totally help someone do that, because a lot of people just overlook that now because everyone's into private labeling. And it's true. Private labeling is, to me, it's great because you own the product. You're the manufacturer in a sense, that you can control the inventory and all that stuff. Retail ARB is still another revenue stream that you can hire people to do the retail ARB for you and add it to your business. So there's a ton that you can do there. We probably will be doing more on that. I've got a couple of thoughts as far as like what we could do to maybe make some type of training for that, or maybe a workshop, but I'll be letting you guys know, of course. But it's a great idea. And if you guys are at all at that stage where you're just like, I'm just not sure if I want to even do this, well, retail ARB would be a really low risk way of doing it. And you can also make some money in the process. So definitely do that. All right. So great advice. Now, to talk about retail ARB launch and like a private label launch, they're completely different. A retail ARB, the reason why it is easier in a sense is because you're not having to do a launch. Because what you're doing is you're taking that product on that brand and you're launching it on that listing. So you're not even creating the listing. So literally, you don't have to do the pictures, you don't have to do the bullets, you don't have to do the description. You actually can't do any of that stuff. You have to sell it on that listing that's already created, because that brand has already created that. All right. And then you sell on it. And that's why, you talk about sharing the buy box. Well, if you're fulfilling it by Amazon, and let's say that there's 4 people that are on that listing that are doing fulfilled by Amazon. That means that they found a product at a discount. Maybe they found 10 of them and then they send them into Amazon, right? Amazon's going to fulfill them. But some other people have them fulfilled by merchant. Okay. So maybe there's 10 other sellers that are fulfilling it by merchant. Well, you really are only competing, in my opinion, with the fulfilled by Amazon, because those are the ones that are going to be probably rotated more inside of that buy box. So that's how we talk about like sharing the buy box. So if you are doing retail ARB, you're probably going to be sharing the buy box, but then you have to see how much volume is there as far as how many sales are being generated. Because if there's only 10 sales a month and there's 10 sellers, well, you might make 1 sale a month, right? Because it's going to rotate through usually. And yes, a lot of times it's by price, but not always, where depending on your feedback, your seller feedback. That's why we talk about getting good sellers feedback and all that stuff, because there's some other things that could help you get that buy box. And there's like I said, Dom would know more about that, but there's a whole strategy around finding products and then also looking at the buy box. But there's really no launch process that you're going to do with the retail ARB stuff. You're going to sell it. You're going to put it on that listing and sell it. The traffic is already coming to that listing and the ranking is already happening. That's why it's a great way to do it, right? The other thing you have to be careful of is some brands don't allow you to sell their product on that listing. So then you have to be careful of what products you can, what products you can't, right? So that's the downfall with that. Now, with private labeling, you're right. There is a launch process, and we've talked about the entire launch process before. I'm not going to do it here on this episode. Obviously, this is an Ask Scott session, but real quickly, the way that it works is, number one, product research. You have to find products that are low competition. So this way here, you don't have to do a big old promo, right? So you have to get a ton of reviews and all that stuff. Like you want to find products that are getting sales with a low amount of reviews. So this way here, you don't have to do that big launch, but you're still going to want to get sales out of the gate. So you're probably going to want to run a little bit of pay-per-click in the beginning. You're probably going to want to build an external email list of some kind, or reach out to influencers in that market and then do a discount on your product. So this way you can start the sales process. You can start to get your listing ranked. You can get it optimized, all of that stuff. So there's more that goes into private labeling for sure. But then once you get that up and running, it's yours. And you're the only one going to be selling on your listing, especially now with brand registry. And then the content, the enhanced content, that's going to give you a leg up. It's going to also make another hoop for people to jump through to be able to come on your listing. Now, not everyone as of right now, but if you are brand registered and you have a pretty well seasoned account, I believe that you're going to have to get access, or you're going to have to get permission to sell that product on there. And what I basically mean is, let's say that I find your product at a garage sale and I want to sell it and it's brand new in the packaging. If I go to try to list it on your listing, Amazon won't let me because what they're going to say is they're brand registered. You need to contact the seller and get permission. And if you're brand registered, that should happen. Now, from what I'm gathering, it hasn't happened for everyone. It may have some other things to do with how old your account is and all that stuff. But for the most part, I'm hearing that that's kind of in the works now. So that's really good for us, because now we don't have to worry about hijackers and all that stuff. So hopefully that answers your question. It's easier for retail ARB, right? There is some different things you have to consider with that business model, right? And then private labeling, it's a launch process that you're doing to get sales. So this way here, you can start to rank and get optimized and all that stuff. So hopefully I described that well enough for you guys to understand. But again, going back to what you said, Shamil, definitely anyone else that's listening right now, retail ARB is a great way to start. If you want to even add that to your current private labeling business, then go for it, right? It's funny. I was at our TAS Breakthrough Live event, and I was talking to one of our attendees. Actually, he attended both of our breakthroughs, the one in Denver and then the one in Phoenix, Arizona. And he's doing now like upwards of $100,000 a month, like crazy, private labeling. But he also is doing some retail ARB. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, here's this guy doing really well with private labeling. Like, why is he even doing retail ARB? And he just clearly told me, like, when I see a great opportunity or a great deal, I'm going to take that deal and I'm going to make some money at it. Like, that's just the mentality. So just because he's doing well with the private labeling doesn't mean that if he sees something over here that he can make or kind of flip in a sense. It's almost like flipping a house. If he sees something that he can flip and double his money, he's going to do it. So I found that kind of interesting. But I also realized at that point that just because people are already selling private labeling doesn't mean that they won't want to do retail ARB or online ARB or anything like that. So definitely going to be doing a little bit of training on that, I think, coming up. I'll let you guys know more about that. Again, my good friend Dom Sugar, great friend of mine now, but also just someone that I really think is a leader in this retail ARB thing, and he's just been kind of behind the scenes for a very long time. So I want him to kind of be able to reach out there and help anyone that wants to get into this retail ARB. So keep an eye out for that. We're gonna probably do something together. Well, hey there. Thank you so much for listening to that episode of Ask Scott. Now, that was just a highlight from one of our full episodes where I generally answer 3 to 4 questions on a podcast. If you want to go back and listen to all of the past archives of not just the Ask Scott session, but all of the full episodes where I do interviews with top Amazon sellers, people starting from scratch and building a business, if you want to listen to any of those episodes, head over to theamazingseller.com and you can find all of that over there. You can also find details there on how you can ask your own question and get it aired on an upcoming Ask Scott session and possibly see it here on YouTube or just on the podcast. All right, so definitely head over to theamazingseller.com. There's tons of resources over there for you to be able to build your e-commerce and Amazon business. So definitely go check that out. Now, I just wanted to remind you one thing before I let you go. There's a lot of information out there and some of it is really, really good. What I want you to remember is you have to not just consume the information, you have to actually apply that information. So take this information that you learned here today and apply it to your business. And this way here, you can get results. As my shirt says, I wear it almost daily. Take action. We'll see you guys.